family could have been different. His legacy could have been continued and perpetuated. And some parents, you can throw your life away if you want to, but you have no right to throw your children's life away. You have no right to put their future in danger, in risk, or at peril just because you want to be an idiot. It's not fair. And God will indeed hold us responsible for that. And sometimes we think we get away. Don't you know God is serious about children? Don't you remember what Jesus said? Jesus said, woe unto the man who causes one of the little ones to stumble. Woe unto that one. It would be better for them that a millstone were cast around their neck and they were dropped into the sea. God is serious about how we treat children. God is serious about our commitment to our children. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. I am not concerned about your personal happiness. We are concerned about the glory of God. We're concerned about the glory of God. It's in God's glory, in God's kingdom, and God's power come, and to see God's will and God's work fulfilled. And when people bring children into the world, we, by the very fact of that act, we have just forfeited our own right to personal happiness, and to our children's best interests are taken care of. That's just the way it is. Because children are heritage of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is his reward. Blessed is the man or woman who has a quiver full. They're a special gift. That unique opportunity that links us to the future. I've shared that with you before. It's our unique link with the future. It's our unique link to do something of significance and not have it to die with us. To infect our children with the same commitment for the Lord that we have, and to see that spiritual legacy continue. And Achan forfeited all of it because of his selfishness, and that's the bottom line, selfishness. And we get in trouble because we are selfish by nature. And if every now and then we do not feel uncomfortable and inconvenienced, it's probably because we're not living for the Lord. Because a commitment to Jesus Christ, it will go against the grain at times of our own personal comfort and convenience. And that's why Paul said, I die daily, Paul said. The things I want to do that I just cannot do because I'm sold out to Jesus Christ, and so I have to deny myself. And then that's what the Christian life is all about. Jesus said, if any man will be my disciple, let him take it easy. If any man will be my disciple, let him get in store for a great adventure, a flowery bed of ease. It's going to be convenient and happy-go-lucky. That's not what Jesus said. Jesus said, if any man will be my disciple, let him take up his cross, let him deny himself, and let him follow me. And the cross, my beloved, in Jesus' day, it was not a piece of jewelry. It was not a piece of paraphernalia people wore around their neck. The cross in Jesus' day was an emblem of shame and disgrace, and it was a tool of execution. And no one in Jesus' day would wear a cross around their neck. They bore them on their backs as they were led to their place of crucifixion. This is a tough way at times, beloved. It's a difficult press. But the reward is after a while. The reward is after a while. The reward is by and by. 1 year to the Lord is 1,000 days, and 1,000 days is as 1 year. When we've been in heaven for 1,000 years, it only seemed like a day. And we have all of eternity to enjoy the blessings of God's kingdom. But down here, we have to deny ourselves. We have to say no to ourselves. We have to be chaste and disciplined. And we have to gird up ourselves as men and women of God, because we know that our every action, our every act, it on that way, on that in the balance is something is weighed, and something can be gained or something can be lost. Well, I'm not going to be long this morning because we got to do communion. But God showed up to give Joshua a word of encouragement that he was still with his people. And even though they'd gone through a difficult time, that God was going to lead them on. And God was going to take them into the promised land, and they would fully subdue it. You know, God is the perfect parent, and he knows exactly what we need. He knows how to encourage us, how to comfort us, and he knows how to discipline us. You know, and God understands something about discipline. He knows that there's something about discipline that seems to fine-tune our hearing. Have you ever noticed, those of you who grew up, when I grew up and the way I grew up, where parents believed that if you spared the rod, you spoiled the child? And can you remember how keenly you could hear after your father or mother had just disciplined you? I don't know if there's something about it. I don't know much about the human body, but it's some relationship between the rod and between the eardrum. That when the rod of discipline is on our backside, our ears become fine-tuned and we can hear and understand exactly what our parents are saying, and we make great commitments that we will never do it again. We understand what they're saying, and we promise, and the kingdom come, we will never again violate their word. So it is in the kingdom of God. When God gives the rod to our backside, it's to get our attention so that we can hear. And some of us, we just can't hear unless we're in pain. We cannot hear unless we have the pain of God's rod of discipline and chastisement upon our backside. And if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. You see, discipline is more than just swinging the rod. Discipline is the sum total of all that you do to bring a young person to maturity. Some children, all they need is instruction. All they need is direction. All they need is to be reminded. And so that's all you need to do. Some children need a little nudge every now and then. Have to kind of yank them back on track. And once you get them back on track, that's all they need. But some children, and I'm sorry, Dr. Spock, God bless your soul. Some children, they need the rod. If they don't get the rod, they will run you out of the house and use it on you if necessary. And I know that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'm always fine-tuning those things. And I don't advocate or condone anyone abusing their children, physically or verbally for that matter. But if you spank your child correctly and properly, he or she will not die, is what the Bible says. They will not die. As a matter of fact, if they would just let me be a judge, I probably need to be on the Supreme Court. Just let me be on the Supreme Court just for about 6 months. I think we could deal with a lot of this crime stuff. I'm telling you, I would import from some of those brothers from over in Asia who still believe in caning. I believe that you could correct some folk. I really believe that. I believe there are some adults that could be corrected. That young fellow who spray painted those cars, remember the story? It was on national TV. What country was he in? Singapore? Down there taking spray paint and spray painting buildings and cars and graffiti, and they caned. You haven't heard nothing out of it. He's a model citizen. He's a model citizen because he understood there are consequences and there's pain associated with violation of the law. And once you learn that lesson, then you can move on. Well, Joshua got a word from God. And the word was that I'm still with you. And then God gave him the strategy for war. Look at what he says to Joshua in verse 3, or verse 2. He says, and thou shalt do to Ai and to her king as thou didst to Jericho and her king, only the spoil thereof and the cattle thereof shall you take for a prey to yourselves. Lay thee an ambush for the city behind it. God said, Joshua, you got to set an ambush for the guy at Ai because you let him get his confidence up now. Don't you know that you can let the devil get his confidence up in your life? You get a foothold in your life and he gets very confident. Oh, I can take them out. I can render them ineffective. They'll fall for this trick every single time. And so God said, Joshua, what you got to do is you got to set an ambush for the king of Ai. So you set some troops in behind him, and you put some on the west side of him. And then you come up from the front, and then you retreat like you're retreating like you did when he ran you back. And then once you start to retreat, he's going to fall for the trap. His soldiers are going to come after you, and then you bring in the soldiers from the rear, and you set fire to the city. And then you stretch out the sword, and that's going to be the signal to your men to charge. And Joshua said, I got it, boss. So verses, see, he can hear now. See, before, he didn't even pray about going up to fight Ai. His men went up and said, we can take Ai, only need 2,000 or 3,000 troops. Joshua said, go and mow them down. But after they'd gotten beaten, now his ear is fine-tuned to the voice of God.